produce aisle to meat, fish, and dairy. This morning, new transparency from some stores about how tariffs are impacting your grocery bill.
PEI farmers hit by a potato wart infestation. Ottawa imposed an export ban on potatoes from the island to the U.S.
They didn't block the potatoes. The potatoes just stopped coming. Over 140,000 tons of Canadian potatoes vanished from U.S. shelves in just 4 months. No warning, no headlines, no fight. Why? Because on April 2nd, Washington quietly slapped a 35% tariff on Canadian spuds. Result? A $22 bag now costs $30. A plate of fries that used to be $3.50? It's $5.25. Welcome to the new economics of soggy freedom fries. And while American diners are left paying more for less, Canada didn't even flinch. Prime Minister Trudeau flew east, shook hands in Asia, and signed a $1.6 billion trade deal. No press conference, no protest, just pivoted and moved on. Let's break it down in today's video. Note, this video is an independent analysis based on public sources. It does not represent any organization or political stance. We encourage you to think critically and share your thoughts in the comments. Back home, warehouses are running empty, farmers are cutting production, and U.S. restaurants are quietly trimming portions. But let's be clear, Canada wasn't kicked out. They walked. Because when you hammer your closest trading partner with a 35% tariff and call it strategy, don't be surprised when even potatoes pack their bags. Not long ago, this trade flow was one of the steadiest in North America. In 2024 alone, Canada exported 350,000 metric tons of potatoes to the U.S., enough to feed 17 million American households, especially in northern states that run on snow, diesel, and French fries. For decades, this was more than commerce, it was culture. Diners in Minnesota ran on PI potatoes like Congress runs on lobbyist-funded caffeine. It was consistent, predictable, American. Then came the tariff. No tweet, no warning, just a 35% tax slapped on every Canadian potato like it was a foreign enemy. According to Agriculture Canada's July 2025 report, Canadian potato exports to the U.S. fell 41% in just one quarter. Not since the 1980s has there been a collapse like this. This wasn't a breakup. It was economic ghosting with paperwork. And let's do the math. A 25-ton shipment of frozen fries, once valued at $32,000, now comes with an extra $11,200 in tariffs. That's a 35% tax on one of America's favorite foods, more popular than broccoli and arguably more logical. The USDA's July 2025 pricing index says it all. The average price of fries jumped from $3.50 to $5.25 in 3 months. That's not inflation. That's a deep-fried tax hike. To cope, restaurants are swapping out high-quality Canadian potatoes for cheaper domestic ones. Spoiler alert, they don't fry the same. Customers are already noticing the limp texture, uneven color, and strange chemical aftertaste. Diners are shrinking portions. Menus are being rewritten. But no one wants to pass the full cost to customers, because in this economy, loyalty walks. And here's the real kicker. Canada got no warning, no talks, no timeline, just a tariff wall overnight. And when the U.S. builds economic walls without a ladder, neighbors take the side door and bring their billion-dollar crops elsewhere. McCain, Cavendish, and other major Canadian processors have quietly scaled back. Fewer trucks. Shorter contracts. Empty cold storage units from Prince Edward Island to Alberta. This wasn't a trade war. It was a silent retreat. And it's the customer, you, left holding the ketchup packet. What if your favorite fries disappeared not because of a storm, but because of a policy? That's exactly what's unfolding across North America. According to Statistics Canada's July 2025 Farm Update, many mid-sized Canadian farms slashed their potato planting by 15 to 25%. Not because of drought, not because of pests, but because their biggest customer, the United States, simply stopped buying. Meanwhile, across the border, American restaurants and importers are feeling the sting. Faced with higher import costs, many switched to domestic potatoes. But the results? Far from satisfying. In Minnesota, Wisconsin, and Michigan, restaurants are reporting a 10 to 18% drop in potato quality satisfaction, according to the USDA's July 2025 outlook. Customers are noticing too. One regular at a diner in Eau Claire, Wisconsin, summed it up. I paid $5 for fries that tasted like wet cardboard. I used to come here twice a week. Now I bring my lunch. He's not alone. Fast food joints across the Midwest are reporting fewer customers, not because of calorie concerns, but because something as simple as fries just isn't right anymore. We didn't change suppliers because we wanted to, said a franchise owner in Duluth. We changed because our Canadian truck stopped coming. Customers noticed within a week, and they didn't come back. Large chains like McDonald's and Wendy's can soften the blow with bulk deals. But for smaller diners, it's been devastating. One restaurant owner in Fargo told the Minneapolis Star, "We went from serving 3 plates of fries for $10 to barely 1.5. Our margins didn't shrink. They vanished." The ripple effect? Massive. From idle tractors in Prince Edward Island to apologetic teenagers at drive-through windows. This is no longer just a trade spat. It's a systemic breakdown triggered by one policy signed quietly in Washington. While the U.S. leaned into tariffs and tough talk, Canada reached for spreadsheets and strategies. Ottawa didn't retaliate with loud threats. Instead, it quietly redesigned the potato economy. Export processors shifted their focus to domestic markets. Farms reduced exports and adapted to supply directly to grocery chains and co-ops with retail-size packs. According to Agriculture and Agri-Food Canada's July 2025 review, retail potato prices in Canada remain stable, $4.50 to $4.99 per bag, avoiding the price spike seen in U.S. grain and meat. Meanwhile, surplus potatoes were redirected to food banks and community kitchens. In just one quarter, over 12,000 tons of excess crops fed low-income families across New Brunswick and Manitoba. That's not just smart. That's humane. For many Canadian families, saving even $5 a week on potatoes means being able to afford milk, bread, or eggs. In this economy, that's not small change. That's survival. And all of this, done without political grandstanding or public tantrums. Because when your biggest customer treats your product like a threat, the best response isn't begging. It's building better partnerships. And that's exactly what Canada is doing. Since late 2024, Ottawa has been quietly shifting its agri-trade focus beyond the U.S. According to Global Affairs Canada, a $1.6 billion agriculture deal was signed this spring with Japan, South Korea, and Indonesia, targeting processed and premium frozen potato products. And the numbers? They speak volumes. PEI exported $8 million worth of fresh potatoes to Indonesia in 2024. Thailand is now Canada's top non-U.S. potato buyer, importing over $4 million in seed and fresh produce. Caribbean nations like Panama and Trinidad each bought more than $13 million. But this isn't just about selling more. In Charlottetown, a processing plant recently expanded after signing with a Japanese distributor. The result? 45 new full-time jobs, a 15% boost in local crop purchases, including ugly, grade 2 potatoes that used to be animal feed. This is no revenge play. This is about resilience. Canada's learned a hard lesson. When your economy depends on a buyer who panics every election cycle, you're not trading. You're negotiating with a hostage taker. Asia isn't just opening doors. They're handing Canada the keys. Still, even the best new door needs the right key to fit. According to Agriculture Canada's July 2025 Export Logistics Review, shipping frozen goods to Asia costs 20 to 35% more per ton than trucking to Buffalo. Cold chain infrastructure is lagging. And while processed fries are being accepted, fresh potatoes still face quarantine hurdles, especially in South Korea, despite existing trade agreements. Big players like McCain can invest in building new routes. But for smaller farms, without direct buyers or government support, the global stage still feels far away. So yes, Canada is moving on. But it's not easy. It takes time. It takes patience. And many farmers can't afford either. Still, they're trying. Because here's the quiet truth. By July 2025, Canada's potato exports to the U.S. dropped by a staggering 41.7%, according to World Trade Monitor. U.S. potato imports overall fell by 19%. The cause? What economists call policy-induced friction. But this story isn't really about potatoes or tariffs. It's about trust. Canada didn't slam the door. They just stopped knocking. No angry speeches. No boycotts. Just quiet redirection. And maybe that's what hurts the most. Because when your closest trade partner simply walks away without a fight, it's not defiance. It's exhaustion. As the U.S. Potato Policy Association's July 2025 report put it, short-term protectionism may serve political optics, but long-term reputational damage is harder to reverse. After all, how long can you be told you're a trusted partner and still be treated like a threat? Eventually, you stop showing up. You stop asking. You start looking elsewhere. Because trust doesn't always shatter with a bang. Sometimes it just fades in the silence between dark warehouses, unsold crops, and fries that no longer taste like they used to. So what do you think? Will Canada ever come back to the table? Or was this the quietest breakup in North American trade history? This was just the beginning. Hit that subscribe button and buckle up. Digital Garage has so much more in store.